zip it back and forth there. Everybody got an agenda? You got one? Agenda? Yeah, we need somebody to make fun of while you're here. All right, it's 11 o'clock, I'll call this meeting for the Rusk County Traffic Safety meeting to order. If I could get an approval of the August 1st minutes.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the meeting, on the minutes? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. LEL BOTS.
That's a lot of letters. Alright, good to be back with you again, little information from the Bureau for you. Taking a look at primarily the third quarter. And take a look and see how that treated us this time around. This is a spot map for the county as of yesterday's info. Those are reportable crashes reported into DOT as of yesterday. So maybe a little bit of a lagging indicator, but not too much. For all departments and jurisdictions across the county, 151 crashes so far reported into DOT. That resulted in 73 people being injured out on our highways and 3 fatalities, unfortunately. We'll talk more about that in a bit. What's going on across the state as far as the third quarter goes? We had about 33,500 crashes across all the highways in Wisconsin. That resulted in just under 12,000 injuries and 209 fatalities. Just as a reminder for you, that 5-year average that we're working with, that 5-year rolling average, 581 fatalities. As of this morning, we are up to 477 fatalities that resulted out of 440 fatal crashes. So numbers aren't as good as we would like them to be. But as we continue on that trend, we may be able to bring that 5-year average number down. As far as the third quarter for us, this year, that first column there in the third quarter, so just those 3 months of July, August, and September, we had 41 reportable crashes, 22 people injured, and 2 fatalities. You can see the year's worth of data, including the 3 quarters before that. So we are down a little bit as far as a year's worth of data, even though it's kind of taken out of the calendar year. But as you know, every quarter is a little bit different as far as traffic patterns and volumes, roadway conditions, and that kind of thing. So when we take a look at how the third quarter measured up compared to different years, this shows not only the third quarter for 2023, but the 3 preceding years, third quarter only. So we can kind of have an apples to apples comparison. And when you look at it that way, we're pretty much right where we would expect to be, except those fatalities are a little bit higher, and the number of injuries are higher. So if we can't reduce the number of crashes, we'd like to reduce the severity of them. This quarter was a little bit more harsh for us than the third quarters have been in the past 3 years. So that's that's not a good thing to see. As far as the fatalities go, we did have the 2 fatalities that happened in the third quarter. We average 3 fatalities every year, so we are at that number. So therefore, I see no need for any more for the year. So thank you. And then previously, we had the one in the second quarter that happened that we had discussed previously. Take a look at the distribution of injuries. This is by crash type. Fatal crashes, we typically don't have the 2 fatal crashes in the third quarter. Those are usually found elsewhere in the calendar, so that's why that is up a little bit. That just as a reminder, that far right-hand column, that 5-year third quarter change, that compares this year's third quarter to 5 previous years worth of third quarters. So the average of the previous 5 years compared to 2023, fatalities are up a little bit. Serious injuries, we only had 1 crash in the third quarter, which is good to see. Minor crashes, we had 6 of those. Possible injuries, we had 6, and then property damage only crashes, 26. That gives you your final number reported there. So we're down a little bit overall over that 5-year average. Taking a look at some of the crash flags, law enforcement's identified distracted driving in about 14.5% of our crashes. It's kind of unusual to see that one in the top spot, and that is an 11% increase over that 5-year average that we were looking at before. And the reason that's at the top is because speed is down a little bit. We're under 10% of our crashes identified as having inappropriate speed involved. So that's down noticeably from what we typically see in the third quarter. And aggressive driving down at about 2.5%. That's also a noticeable drop as well. Looking at some of the nature of the crashes, single unit lane departure crashes at about 40%, which is pretty typical of what we see. Just as a reminder, those single unit lane departure crashes is where a lone vehicle will leave its designated lane of travel, typically runs off the road before striking something like a tree or a culvert, maybe overturns. About 40%, that's what we would expect to see in a county like ours. So, and that is what we do see. So that's not a surprise there. Intersection related crashes coming in at just under 27%. That's up a little bit, but not much from what we typically see. And then the multi-unit lane departure crashes, a little over 12%. That's typically what we see as well, maybe down just a tick. And as a reminder, that's where a vehicle will leave its lane of travel, strike at least one other unit, typically while it's in transport, and you can get crashes like head-on side swipes, those kind of things. So about 12% of those. No red flags there. Those look pretty typical for us. As far as occupant protection goes, occupant protection was not worn in a little over 12% of our crashes. This is seatbelts being used in vehicles. It also includes for us motorcyclists not wearing helmets or eye protection when they're required to do so. And that is about what we see. That's been the number for us for the third quarter for the last 4 years, right about that number. When we take that and we extrapolate that out to the rest of the motoring public, if this is a good sample that we take out of there, the number of folks that are wearing their seatbelts primarily running right about 88%, which is what we see across the state. It'd be nice to get that number up a little bit, because as you know, that occupant protection maybe doesn't prevent the crash, but certainly can lessen the effects of those crashes. So once again, if we can't reduce the number of crashes, we want to reduce that severity. Encouraging occupant protection is one of those ways of doing that. It's easy to do for us. Work zone crashes, almost 10% of our crashes involve being in an active work zone. Some of that, I will tell you, even though it looks like it's a huge jump, and it is a big jump, is because I think of our efforts to properly indicate work zone crashes. We talked about this last time around, and I think it's having an effect. We see this across the state. The number of work zone crashes are climbing because we're now properly reporting those. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll take a look and see what the trends are as far as that goes. Impaired drivers, where we suspect alcohol and or drugs of being on board. About 17% of our crashes involve that. This is where the officer suspects drug or alcohol use, or a citation or a criminal charge is issued. Any one of those will trigger that indication. up a little bit from what we typically see, for the 5% average. Usually we're down somewhere in the 13-14% range, but not necessarily a big jump, especially when you're talking smaller numbers. You know, a little bit of a change makes a big percentage change, but we will certainly continue to track that and see if there are any long-term trends that are coming up. When we look at crashes involving something other than exclusively automobiles or light trucks, in the third quarter of this year, we did have a pedestrian struck, which we typically don't have. 2 motorcyclists were involved in crashes, 5 commercial motor vehicles. Those aren't anything out of the ordinary for us, and no bicyclists were struck, which is nice to see. People are taking advantage of the good weather. Our data quality reminder for us for this quarter, this is primarily for law enforcement folks as well. When a law enforcement officer does a crash investigation, they'll complete a report that includes a narrative and a diagram on there. And what we see occasionally is a report that comes through looking like this. You might not be able to read that, so I kind of blew up the information on there for you. A lot of times when people are reviewing crash reports, all they get to see is the basic crash report, unless they want to call and do some digging and follow up and whatnot. And it really can become a time-consuming event. So just having references to other documents, see this document for the diagram or see this document for the narrative, really doesn't help those folks that are digging into the crash reports and trying to do the research that they need to do. And even with our efforts at trying to do data mining in the narratives, so we can catch some of those missed flags, this kind of completely circumvents that. So what we're asking is for at least a rudimentary narrative and a diagram for each one of the crash reports. It's important for us when we're trying to look for ways to reduce the crashes that may be happening at a problematic location or something like that. And then try to be specific about the cause of the crash. So the example we like to use is if a crash happens at an intersection, indicating the difference between a failure to stop for a stop sign, for instance, versus a failure to yield. Somebody comes to a stop sign, stops, and then pulls out in front of somebody. The way we get about correcting that problematic intersection, 2 different approaches for a failure to stop versus a failure to yield. So just paying attention to those kind of nuances will really help us to make sure that we're getting everything out of the data that we need to get. So diagrams, narratives, and then paying attention to causation really does help the folks that are digging into that data, and it saves them a lot of time from having to contact agencies.
And it also saves those agencies a lot of time from having to dig up additional reports when we need to find them. So it helps everybody. I know we're all busy, so.
Yeah, just another effort saver for us. Looking into the fourth quarter, we previewed this last time around. This is the safety and messaging marketing calendar for us in November. The big one for us is coming up is the Crash Responder Safety Week. That is the effort to try to alert motorists how to drive through emergency scenes and those kind of things correctly, so we can get to where we're going safely and then protect the folks that are on the roadside event as well. We talked about the seatbelt law enforcement high visibility mobilization coming up in November. The Buckle Up Every Trip, Every Time campaign is coming up. And then all of those other events that really started at Halloween and will work its way all the way through the Super Bowl as far as impaired driving campaigns. So digging out all those ones that you used to see, plus some new ones, with a little bit of extra effort being put into the other than alcohol impairment behind the wheel campaigns. And as we look into the first quarter, we can start to see some of the things that are percolating to the top as far as safety messaging goes when it comes to that. First quarter is always light. If you remember from last year, we talked about that. Fourth quarter is always pretty heavy with the impaired driving campaigns, and then first quarter we kind of take a step back a little bit. As far as legislative updates go, really nothing earth-shattering that came out traffic safety related. Since last time we met, there were 2 bills that were signed by the governor 23 Act 28 and Act 29. Really those are ones that we've been tracking. They just, a little bit of incremental change in those. Act 28 is the farm license endorsement, which allows those seasonal farm workers that are working out in the fields with their F endorsement on their license. They used to have a 180-day window that they can operate. Now that's been extended a little bit more to cover the whole growing season. They have now 210 days. And Act 29 increases the penalty for reckless homicide, including reckless homicide with a motor vehicle. So those are two that the governor has signed into law, and they are in effect now. A lot of these proposals we have seen before, so if you see one that you want to talk or comment about, certainly feel free to interrupt me. Otherwise, don't forget that the legislative update is done every week and is parked right there on community maps under the TSC resources tab. It's open to everybody, so if you are a legislative junkie and want to take a look at any of these, there are links to all of them there. And then you can see the change week over week is highlighted as far as what is the newest, latest, and greatest that are out there. We did have a couple of bills that have now made it to the floor after they found some co-sponsors. They were parked in the Legislative Reference Bureau for a while, and then a couple new proposals that are coming up regarding things like electric vehicle, either decals or specialized plates to allow emergency responders to properly address crashes involving those vehicles. There is a proposal now to allow counties and municipalities that have roadways under their jurisdiction to reduce the speed by 20 miles an hour speed limit without having to do an engineering study. We'll see where that goes. And then the commercial motor vehicle definition, that is also a new one, and that would remove one of the definitions for a commercial motor vehicle that references registered weight. And then the driver's education regarding work zones is also a new one. That one has been made it out of the LRB pretty quickly, so that's something that I'm sure will be hitting the assembly floor as well, and we'll keep an eye on that. Oops. If there are no questions about that, we will go into the Community Maps user group meeting. Last time we talked about having that last user group meeting online, that 1 hour online meeting with the folks at UW Maps and to talk about Community Maps. That has been shelved, shall we say, in lieu of a survey that you should see coming out pretty soon to try to gauge what is the correct direction now for the folks in Madison to formulate their user group meetings and what's most effective for the folks that are using it. So if you have a Community Maps account, you should see a survey coming out soon. And if you don't have an account, you'll be able to go into Community Maps into the public facing page and be able to participate as well. So watch for that coming out. But the last user group meeting for the year has been postponed to next year. Just a couple of points of interest for you. The Bureau has brought on a judicial outreach liaison, or a JOL as the cool kids call it. The liaison's job is to act as an intermediary between the traffic safety community and the judiciary. To bring them up to speed on things of interest regarding impaired driving and other traffic safety related issues. The JOL helps out with judicial education at their conferences and those kind of things. We have brought on Todd Muir. He is the former traffic commissioner for Dane County. Very experienced in traffic matters and traffic safety matters. He still works a lot with the Municipal Judges Association, where he serves still as a municipal judge for the town of Verona and Middleton. He is available, so if we have any issues regarding judges and traffic safety and things that are of interest or concern, Todd is our new go-to, so he's going to be a member of the BOTS team, being paid for this first year by the American Bar Association, and then the Federal Highway Administration will pick up his pay after that. So it's good to have him on board, good resource. We are the 26th state in the country to bring on a JOL, so it's nice to see him there. And he's a nice guy, so that's all I'd say. Letting you know about an application that is out there. Trip Score is something that you can have and you can download onto your phone. The intent of that is primarily for younger users, to try to make traffic safety a little bit more fun. So it kind of acts as a game, and it gauges your driving behaviors and gives you a score. You can compete against other places. There are schools that compete against each other. You can earn points to go towards contests. They have weekly, monthly, and annual contests. So for instance, the weekly contest is like a $25 gift card at Amazon or something along those lines. The annual winner is going to get insurance and fuel paid for an entire year. So it is something that's kind of spreading across the eastern part of the United States right now. It started up in Canada. I have it on my phone, so I could kind of play with it. I haven't won anything yet, but I can certainly tell the difference between when I drive and when my wife drives. So I'm the good driver, and I always ride her that because I show her what her score is, and that's what she hits me. But it's a good app if you're interested. Tripscore.com is the website. You can get on there and take a look at the different things that they do. They have daily traffic safety quizzes for the kids to earn points, and then they have short videos. So something to make it a little bit more interesting for the younger folks to try to get them involved in driver safety. And then, as always, I leave our contact information at the Bureau. We are having a little bit of change in our unit. Not only was bringing Todd on as the JOL, but we are also bringing on a 5th law enforcement liaison, my job, so we can help better cover the state and allow us to have time to do other things as well. So there'll be a little bit of a shuffling as far as counties go. If you want to get rid of me, this is your opportunity to complain to DOT and give me up to another county. But right now, we don't know what the changes are going to be for sure, but it won't affect anything else as far as what we do. It's just going to give us a better opportunity to serve the folks that are out there. And as always, my contact information at the end. If there's anything I can do for you, emails, texts, and phone calls all day long. So that's fine. If I can help you out, that's why I'm there. Otherwise, Sheriff, any questions that you've got, that's what I've got for you this time around.
Any questions for Dan? Alright, County Highway Traffic Safety Coordinator designee. Not here. Law enforcement, I'm gonna bring up the BB Road crossing incident again. We've been working on this for a couple of years. I've worked with landowner that owns the corner there. You have it up there, Dan. Yeah. So we was wishing to brush part of that out to make a better view of the railroad tracks coming into it. The guy's only request is the county buy the land from him or trade him 5 acres of prime county property for that 5 acres, which the county said no. So we're kind of back at a standstill. What I brought up, and we kind of talked a little bit before the meeting here, was to bring up beacon lights prior to on each side, just a solar powered flashing yellow light to warn people of the railroad crossing coming up. It's like everything else, if it's there a while, pretty soon it just becomes part of the scenery. State won't let me change it to purple, I asked, but,
Gotta follow the federal rules.
but anyhow, it's something that, you guys think this would be worth going forward to our property, to see if the county would purchase, 2 flashing amber beacon lights, to place on the railroad signs prior to the crossings, just as a reminder. Comments, concerns, thoughts?
So one north of the crossing around the curve by the sign there's already a sign.
Yes.
Yep.
Put one on there, and then one over the hump to the
Yeah,
south.
at the top of the hill there to the west.
Yeah, I'd go on the railroad ahead warning signs.
Yeah, so for the trailer course.
Yeah. That's my only thought of our next step here, because without that property, we can't brush that, so,
Cause it's been brushed to the right of way line.
yeah, as far as we can, so.
And if that's the way we wanna go, like I was telling him, it's just a permit and it's by either the township or the county, whoever wants to maintain the beacon and be responsible for it. And I've already said in the past that I'd be happy to approve that, I just need the permit. So,
You need a motion to take that to property committee, or just do it?
I don't know. A motion is fine if you wanna make one.
I'll make the motion to take that to property. We get it in on Friday,
Yeah, probably, it's only Tuesday, so.
Tuesday today,
Have a motion and a second?
I'll second it.
Okay,
Maybe I already had.
okay. Have a motion and a second. All in favor of moving it forward to property to see if they're willing to purchase and place them there, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Emergency management.
just planning 2 drills so far next year, both tabletops, one with the sheriff's department, probably the PD for, hazmat spill. We did a big one, didn't zero in on them much with the last one, so we're gonna do one with them, and then a derailment exercise. Probably tabletop into a functional the next year in 25, depending on what the railroad wants to do. That's all I got.
What's that gonna be?
When?
Yeah.
It's not planned yet.
Once
railroad-
it's planned, we'll
TBA.
invite you guys.
Yeah, you guys get invited. We'll even let you, sit right up front and answer all the questions.
Alright, public health.
Nothing,
Nothing?
no,
Well, thanks for coming.
thanks for having me.
Alright. Wisconsin DOT engineer.
okay, so we're wrapping up construction season, the Highway 8 culvert replacements, from River Avenue to the East County line. Those are almost done, all the major work will be done this week, and then punch list work will be done next week, is what I was told. So hopefully that'll wrap up soon, and I know we've got a little snow already, but won't go into the heavy stuff. For next year, the ones I have is that same section of Highway 8 will get the resurface next year. That's gonna be let in December, the plan is for flagging. And then the Highway 8 Little Soft Maple Bridge replacement, that is between Keefe Road and Hutchinson Road. That'll be a single lane with signals, west side by Warehouser and Bruce. That is not gonna be let until next July, so it'll be a fall construction project. That is what I've got for next year for state led projects.
Between Keefe and Hutchinson.
Keefe, yeah, in South Hutchinson. I can show you on the map.
Can you bring that up, Dan, on your map? Between Bruce and Warehouser.
Yeah, just east of Warehouser. It's a little, yeah, that one. That little creek
Okay.
there.
There's no bridge there, that's a culvert, isn't it?
It might be a culvert, but they call it a bridge
Okay,
rebuild.
I'm like,
If
I
it's-
don't remember, I drive that twice a day, I don't remember there being a
And
bridge there.
depending on how big a culvert it is, it might be considered a bridge, or they might be replacing it with a bridge if it's a big
Could be a
box
culvert.
culvert, yeah, if it's a big box culvert.
That makes sense.
That's just what the project title says, is bridge replacement.
Yeah, I'm like,
Well, we know where you take your nap.
that's where I take my nap in there. Is that the autopilot?
So, yep, that'll be a single lane with signals next year
Or
then.
the flashing lights, or the overhead signal?
Overhead signal, yep, traffic signal. I've been having pretty good luck with those, so.
Yeah, the one at Clear Lake went really good last year.
Glad to hear that. Other words, that's what I've got, unless somebody's got any questions or comments for me for state highways or concerns?
Okay, if not, that's the state patrol.
The one thing I got is last quarter, we, worked with the CN police and did a detail during road safety week, so about 3.5 hours, there's 50 different stops, the CMP driver out of service for false reporting. So we had about 5 troopers working in that area. That's all I have.
Okay, under state patrol, we've got, a tab of emergency vehicles entering onto the highway in the town of Willard. I'll kinda let Craig talk a little bit here.
Yeah, I can take this one. I see Bob's here as well. So Bob had approached me and asked if, at the town of Willard there was a building put up, right, Bob? And there's gonna be some EMS vehicles that are gonna be entering, Highway 27 at that location. You guys know that there's that crest in the hill going down on both sides, so kind of, one of those hard to see spots as they're coming out. Asked me some ways and wanted to bring it to this table here to see signage wise, what we could do for that on 27. Prior to that, he brought up some areas south, on 27, mainly in the Holcomb area, which I had taken to Chippewa County. Basically right now, with some of the studies they did, in crash data, they were gonna keep those zones the way they were as far as passing and speed zones, which did trickle up into Rusk County. But this one here, and Bob, if you wanted to expand on that, as far as services coming out of there and how much they'll be utilized, do you think? And what you're really looking for?
I think the services will be provided as, a first responding vehicle that we are, the Sheldon Fire Department has already purchased. And there's 5 gentlemen in our township that is on the Sheldon Fire Department. And there will be, they are within 1 mile to 2 miles of that station. And so the response time will be cut down by 10 to 15 minutes for the area. But again, in that, coming out over the little knoll there, if we could have something, I think what Paul said, the best part is, you put a sign up, yes, just for the first few days, or first few years, the sign is red and then ignored. We could have something like a light that goes on, or to turn on and then turn it off, so that they can get approaching vehicles know that something's coming out. We would appreciate it.
I don't know off of the top of my head what the requirements are for those. But please, if you wanna, send me an email and
Okay.
specifics with location and everything. I can definitely look into that and get all the information on what we can and can't do and what the requirements are.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
yeah, no problem on that.
Was there anything else, Bob, with, are you good with the response from south of there on 27 and?
That's about all we can do right now, yes.
Okay, alright.
It should be operable by the first of the year.
First here, okay.
Who would be responsible for that? Would it be the,
It depends on what we can do and what we can't do. So if it's just a sign, a warning sign, the state would be putting that up. If it's a beacon, which I know in the past, we have had, activated ones that are activated by the fire department. So like when the fire truck leaves the house, they push a button and it's activated. I don't know if we are allowing those anymore or not, or if we've taken those out. But like I said, I'd have to dig into the details on what we can and can't do. And that, I'm not sure if it would be a congregation of the state or the fire EMS department. So like I said, I'd have to really dig into that, cause I don't know those requirements off the top of my head, but I definitely can. And if stuff like that, if anybody gets questions like that in between these, please just email them to me or send them, give them my phone number. I'd rather take care of them sooner than later, so they don't have to wait for a meeting, definitely.
Thank you.
Highway Commissioner? Education representative? Board District Supervisor. Mike, you got anything?
He's here for our CTC.
Oh, is he? Okay. Law representative, I think from the sleep. Kevin? Okay.
Nothing for me now.
City of Ladysmith designee?
The only thing, we'll be rebuilding Minor Avenue next summer from west Sixth Street all the way to this intersection, East Third Street, so all of downtown will be under construction next summer. Hopefully East Second Street between Lake and Minor, that's past the farmer's market parking lot, or past the phone company, that streets, we're trying to get that one thrown in the mix too. So, downtown's gonna be a mess next summer.
Kurt, what about, West Fifth or J, is that gonna be constructed too or no?
No, you cut that, they was talking about doing Fourth Street past the dental clinic and Ladysmith Federal, but
J wasn't, or West Fifth wasn't on?
no.
Oh, okay, I thought it was.
No, it's, I think we're biting off more than we can chew already, so.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. So that's gonna cause it'll cause some traffic headaches. That's it, that's all I have.
Okay. Any citizen, anything? RCTC,
Oh, yes, I have a couple things, we just posted our winter schedule for the bus route around town here, started the 1st of November. We are gonna have a special day on Friday for the veterans where they can ride free in the city with the veterans ID card. They like to go to school, they like to go to, to eat, things like that, or visit relatives on Friday, so we get free rides. We started a couple years ago, and then COVID came along. We started this door-to-door service with the Chippewa County ADFRC. We run second, fourth Tuesdays. Folks from Holcomb, Cornell can ride to Ladysmith and back, $6. So it's kind of a neat deal, so that folks can come into Walmart or whatever. And so we have pretty good response on that. And we just finished our public transit, human services coordination plan, 5-year plan with Northwest Planning. We should have the revised copy out by the 1st of January, somewhere in there, so. Everything going good, and the other thing is we have staffing up to date. We had a good response now. During the COVID, staffing went down. And now in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been promoting more employment, and now we're up to full staff, which is good news. So, all of a sudden our services can come back around to the door-to-door 6 days a week, things like that, so. Okay, thank you.
thanks. I'm with the railroad. NWRP. Okay, look at, the crash data sheet that we got out. I think we need to relook at our number don't match Dan's number. We have 3 in the third quarter, and it should only be 2 in the third quarter, if I'm correct, right now. Fatalities?
That's what's been reported to us, I
Right.
have to go in and dig into that other one.
Yeah,
My only question would be, is that the number of accidents, or was there a double fatality possibly, and so there was?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't remember 3, that's why. I just wanna clarify that so that your paper is correct. Looks like our reportable crashes are down in the first quarter, up in the second quarter, down in the third quarter. For overall, for 2023, we appear to be down from the last 2 years, so that is good. Our fatalities are up, but less crashes. Hopefully we can, like Dan said, make them safer crashes. Any questions on the data report? Any public requests? If not, their next meeting will be February 6th at 11 a.m.
Hey, Sheriff,
I think we should, reach out again to CN and see if we can get a representative here, because we have so many issues with the rail traffic.
Okay.
And I think we have tried, or maybe we really haven't tried, I don't know. I mean, we have in the past, but I think we should try to see if we can get, one of their agents down.
Mike was the last one who used to come, wasn't he?
I'll give him a call.
See if we can come, even once or twice a year would be fine, but.
Anybody got any objection to February 6th? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
We are adjourned. Thanks guys for coming.
Good.
Yeah.